All right, my name is Sean. I'm a 20-year-old entrepreneur from Los Angeles, California. I'm actually in fucking Las Vegas. I don't know what I'm pointing for, but I make six figures, and I did it when I was around 20, and I've been in this whole entrepreneurial space for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And I kind of just want to highlight the realistic results in terms of what you can expect. Because if you're watching this, I'm assuming you want to get into online business. Maybe you've already started. Maybe you're already making a little bit of money and you want to get to the next level. Or maybe you're looking to start and you don't really know where to start, right? So I kind of just want to lay out some realistic expectations for you, and hopefully this will help you on your entrepreneurial journey and really just give you some direction and set some clear expectations. So let's get into it. So the first things first, I just want to put this out there. Everything you do is going to be fucking hard. I don't know if it's going to be starting an agency, if it's going to be Amazon FBA, if it's going to be drop shipping, if it's going to be sales. I don't know, but it's going to be fucking hard. It's going to be really hard. Okay. You have to realize it's hard, not because it's inherently difficult to understand the business model, but it's because since it's worth doing, think about why you chose it in the first place, because you can make a lot of money, right? Because of the fact that you can make a lot of money, there's going to be competition involved because everybody's kind of chasing that money, right? So essentially the bar is high, and that's what makes it hard because everybody's kind of chasing the same thing. So I just want to lay out your expectations that way. And it's this shit is probably going to be some of the hardest shit you've ever done in your life. You're going to struggle for months and months and months, maybe even years, right? And you're not going to make a dime, right? And you're going to feel like all of this was for nothing, right? And you have to realize that's just how entrepreneurship is, right? The reason why the upside for entrepreneurship is so high, you can make an absolutely ridiculous amount of money, is because there's a lot of bullshit that people aren't willing to put up with, right? So for example, have you guys seen that one video of or an even easier explanation, think about dumpster, what's it called? Trash delivery people, what is it called again? Dumpster people who pick up your trash, right? I don't know why the fucking name doesn't come to mind, but the people who pick up your trash, think about why they're paid well. Because I don't know if you know this, but they're actually paid quite well. I think a lot of them, or at least over here in California, they make almost six figures, if not more than six figures, right? But think about why. Because realistically, right, the job they're doing is not much more than just operating a truck, picking up trash and transporting it, right? But the reality of why they get paid so well is because people aren't willing to do what they do. People aren't willing to do it, right? So because they're willing to put up with a higher level of bullshit, they get compensated for that, right? And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, except obviously entrepreneurship is even harder, right? There's a lot more discomfort that goes into it. There's a lot more pain. There's a lot more hardship, right? But the upside is so high because the amount of people who are willing to put up with that bullshit is very, 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 very few people. Very few people. So you got to keep that in mind. And whenever you think about quitting, or maybe you've thought about quitting already, right? Maybe you're just getting into this and you don't really know what to expect. I'm telling you, it's gonna be hard, right? But if you've been in the entrepreneurship game for a while now, a few months, and you haven't made any money, and it's really fucking hard, and you don't know what to do, and you feel stuck, and you feel clueless, it's normal. I've been there, right? Everybody I know that has been successful has been stuck at some point, right? So just keep that in mind. It's don't quit, because when you quit, you really lose it all. Okay, if you don't quit, you literally lose nothing, right? So just keep that in mind. Another point I also want to make, right, is a lot of people get into this entrepreneurship thing, in business, with money in mind. And yes, I get it. It is about the money. It is 100%. It is. If it wasn't for the money, I wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't be doing it. Nobody would be doing it, right? But what you want to focus on, realistically, is not the money. And you don't want to focus on the money, because if you focus on the money, you're going to get discouraged. Why? Because you're most likely not going to make jack shit in the beginning, right? That's why. And you need to gauge your progress based on the skills that you're actually developing as opposed to the amount of money you're making. Because if the whole point of entrepreneurship is the fact that you have to put up with bullshit that other people are not willing to put up with, then that means that one of those areas of bullshit that you have to put up with is the fact that you're not going to make money for a very long time, right? So it's unrealistic to measure your success by the amount of money you're making, because it's a given. We've already established that you're not going to make any money for a very long period of time, right? So how do you actually gauge your progress then? If it's not with the money, it's like if you make $0 for 3 months, how did you make any progress? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, there's a way to gauge it, because there's something that is in direct proportion with the money, right? So there's something that's equally as valuable as the money, and if you get more of this specific thing, it is technically a direct translation in terms of like your money going up, right? It's just like you need to hit a certain level of that before you can actually start seeing money. For example, right, and that specific thing, by the way, is skills, okay? Skills is the most important thing. Let me explain why. So imagine there's like 10 levels of entrepreneurship. At level 10, you have Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all the richest people in the world, right? And at level 1 is you. You're starting out entrepreneurship. You don't really know what it's about. You've never really had a business before, right? You have to realize that you're only gonna start making money when you hit like level 4, which is just crazy to think, right? It's like, oh, I'm only gonna start making money when I hit level 4. Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna have to start at level 1, and you're gonna have to get to level 2, level 3, and then once you hit level 4 and above, you finally start making money. So you need to see it that way, and how you can level 1, 2, 3. These levels take the longest amount of time. Why? Because people have unrealistic expectations, and they don't know how to get what they want, right? But I'm going to show you how to get what you want. And if your goal is money, realize in the beginning that money is not an indication of your progress. How good you are at the skill is an indication of your progress, okay? So you need to think of it like this. Let's just say you're getting into sales, right? You might start as an appointment setter, and for all you people who don't know what an appointment setter is, it's basically like a very basic version of sales, right? You might think of sales for the general population. You'll think of sales as like Jordan Belfort clothes and people selling people, right? Before most people get into that, they start as appointment setter, where they basically just set appointments, where they basically just qualify the applicants for the person who's selling, right? Because you want to make sure they have enough money, you want to make sure they have enough time, all those things, and you usually have somebody else do that before they're moving on to the closer, right? So as an appointment setter, you might be on commission only, right? You might be on commission only, and you might not set anybody, right? So how do you tell if you're doing better? Sure, if you're setting people, more and more people, you are getting better. But that's not how it works in the beginning, right? In the very beginning, as an appointment setter, you should gauge your progress just based on how much you're better at getting qualifying applicants. For example, when a client decides to interrupt, not stop talking, right? It's like, yeah, you gotta cut them off, right? So I would gauge my progress as an appointment setter as, my ability to cut people off when they're talking too much. That's progress. You do that enough times, you're gonna get good at that one specific micro skill, okay? And if you look at every micro skill, because think about it this way, appointment setting, for example, is just a macro skill, right? And all of the things that go into appointment setting are all little tiny micro skills that build up and become appointment setting. So you need to understand the little micro skills that go into becoming a good appointment setter, get good at all of those, and eventually when you put enough of those together, you're gonna be an actual good appointment setter. And this goes for absolutely everything, right? For if you want to do e-commerce, right? What goes into being someone who's good at e-commerce? Product research, ability to market, right? All of these things, and it's like you break it down. What is product research? Okay, well, I have to have the intuition for products. What does that mean, right? Well, I have to pick products that adhere to this criteria. Okay, well, I'm gonna get better by really thinking about the products that I'm choosing and applying them to those specific criteria which I learned. And if you're able to do that, those little micro skills better and better and better and better, you're eventually going to become good at the macro skill. And when you become good at the macro skill, which is like level 4, that's when you actually start to make money, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And it's like, just to summarize everything, you make money through building skills. You see the progress that you're making with a big skill, for example, like a macro skill, like sales or e-commerce, which is very general, by breaking it down into smaller micro skills and getting good at those little things first, which will accumulate into becoming that one big thing, which you can call sales, which you can call business, which you can call, whatever, right? So that's essentially how getting better at this whole thing works. And yeah, the last point I want to make, and the most important thing probably, is whether or not you should find a mentor, right? And I have a pretty controversial take on this. Most people think it's like either or, right? It's like, oh yeah, you have to have a mentor. Why would the fuck would you not, right? Or, you definitely should, and you can do it on your own, right? I'm a little bit mixed on that. I think I think you should start first, really understand understand the potential of the business model, right? Because just because you hear about a business model or you watch these YouTube videos, it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything, all right? You can only really gauge a business model and whether it's good or not, or whatever, and its full potential if you actually do it. So let's just say you're looking into dropshipping and you've watched 100 dropshipping videos, right? And you're like, it's finally time to pull the trigger. You want to take your first actionable step into getting into dropshipping, right? A lot of people would think, okay, my first step is going to be like, I'm going to find a fucking mentor, right? And no, that shouldn't be your first step. Your first actionable step should just be to fucking understand what goes into dropshipping and just try it. And try it with the expectation that you're going to fail. Because guess what? You probably are going to fail, right? But it's okay because you have nothing to lose. So try it first. Really just try to gauge how realistic it is to make all of this work, right? Because guess what? Even if you fail, it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hate it, right? If you fail and you see okay, even though I failed, I understand what I did wrong. Okay, I understand that I have to get better at, for example, product research. I understand that I have to get better at marketing. Looking back, when you analyze what you actually did and why you failed, you might realize that you have a lot fucking more to improve on, right? And you might start to understand what goes into actually succeeding with that business model, right? If you fuck up the marketing and you compare yourself to somebody who's actually making it work with dropshipping, right? You compare your shitty fucking marketing with their actual good marketing and you're like, okay, this actually makes sense. So this is what they're doing better than me. How the fuck do I do that? And guess what? You're not going to know how to do it like they do, right? That's when you can actually decide to get a mentor, right? When you realize that there's potential in this business model. So don't get a mentor first. Look into the actual business model. Try it first. And your second actionable step, realistically, should be to find a mentor. Not your first. Not your first at all. So that's essentially just kind of what I want to share in terms of my personal reflection, things I wish I knew before I started with, this whole entrepreneurship journey. I started with e-commerce. I did pretty decent. It took me a while. It took me a long fucking time to see success. I'm not going to lie. It took me 3 months to find my first winner. And then I went on a 6-month dry streak before I found another one. And I was hammering at that shit for 8-10 hours a day, right? And finally, I made it work after realizing that I was focused on the money as opposed to the understanding, right? And when I realized that I lacked an understanding of just how everything worked, that's when I actually got better. I didn't realize it was a skill deficiency, right? And most of the time, if you're not making money, it is because of a skill deficiency. It's because you're not on level 4 yet. You might be on level 2, right? You might have gotten lucky on level 2. You might have made a little bit of money. You might think you're at level 4. You're not. You're not at level 4. If you're at level 4, trust me, you'd be making consistent money. If you were at level 4, okay? So don't make the mistake I did. Set realistic expectations. Know that it's going to be hard. And really just have a plan. Have a proper, logical plan. Don't rush to get into things. And if you do those things, if you do all these things correctly, it's you're going to get a lot better. Okay? It's not going to be quick, right? And again, it's not going to be easy. But if you do these things consistently and you understand what you're getting yourself into, you are going to be able to do this for the long run. And that's what's important. That's what counts. Doing this for the long run. Because this is what's going to set you up for the rest of your life. Guess what? You learn that one skill. You get good at sales. You get good at e-commerce, which is fundamentally just marketing. You get good at Amazon FBA. You're going to do that shit for a very long time. Years and years and years and years. And you're going to make a whole lot of money, right? So keep that in mind and just realize that there's a sacrifice that comes before you actually get to the rewards, okay? And you will be successful. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you want more, just drop whatever fucking, ideas in the fucking comment section. And I will talk to you guys next time.